Hey guys, Nana Konamah here, and as always, I want to help you find your authentic self. So I wanted to come on here and get super vulnerable about my own personal journey in the past with really an obsession with controlling my food. You may have seen this on my Instagram stories weeks back. I posted on my journey through battling an eating disorder, disordered eating, body dysmorphia, and how all of that has affected my wellness journey. Before I begin, I will say that this conversation might be triggering for some people, so it's just like a trigger warning for you to sort of know what to expect. I'm going to be talking a little bit about sort of my ups and my downs with eating, how that's all connected to self-acceptance, and how I'm building that into the work that I do now. So for starters, I would say that I had body dysmorphia for a good chunk of my life. I had gained weight during puberty or right before puberty that it was just this random weight. And my family didn't really hold back from telling me how chunky I was. And so I began to only see myself in that context, that I started to sort of be really obsessed with controlling the way that I looked. So whenever I looked in the mirror, all I saw was really someone just really big and undesirable. Now, mind you, this is a world that tells women that you have to be skinny to be pretty, or you have to fit a particular mold of beauty just to really be worthy, or be worthy of love and belonging. And so for a very long time, I just saw my body not only as undesirable, but I saw myself as undesirable. And so I struggled back and forth. Well, now I use the word struggle, but then I didn't really know what I was dealing with. I was just totally unhappy in my body. I was always trying to do something ridiculous to try to lose weight. I remember one time I actually didn't eat for almost 48 hours, and I practically almost collapsed. And I remember my mother looking at me like, what is wrong with this child? And I couldn't really come out and tell her what I was doing, but I tried to not eat for basically 2 days. And the only thing I ate was one bite of a green apple. I was very young at this time period. I mean, I was probably in 6th grade, so maybe I was 12 or 13 years old. And then I started eating and throwing up my food. Now, during this period, everybody just thought it was their business to tell me how much I was eating and how much I was gaining weight. When I was a kid, I didn't eat a lot. I didn't have much of an appetite because I was a thumb sucker. So my thumb was my food. But after I stopped, I sort of replaced my thumb sucking with food. I guess one could say a bit of an oral fixation there. So my family, bless their heart, I'm sure they meant well. I'm sure they just wanted to bring awareness to the issue. But a lot of times what was said was more like, it was more like you eat too much, or you're eating too much, or you're getting fat, or you're getting big, and you can't fit into this, you can't fit into that. It was never really sort of the compassionate, hey, I'm learning about healthier foods, and I think this is healthy, so eat this. I tried going to the gym a couple times with my dad when I was a kid. I didn't even know my potential, athletically, because I had asthma as a kid, and so working out didn't always feel fun because I was always dealing with this breathing issue. So as time went on, I resorted to other formats of bodily control. So I either started myself, then it evolved into me basically throwing up after I ate. That went on for years. I mean, that went on for maybe about 7th grade to 11th grade, which is, in Ghana terms, I think that's JS1 to SS3, thereabout. So that would equate with about 5 years. Totally unsure of my body. Then when I stopped sort of throwing up, it went into other ways of control where I would do excessive gymming or really strict dieting. in the beginning of my wellness journey, which was with veganism, I had stopped taking milk and dairy, really because I was lactose intolerant. I couldn't really process milk, so already I wasn't eating like dairy. But when I started going vegan and I felt really good, but as I began to lose weight, it became less and less about feeling good and more about the weight that I was losing. And so I even sort of began to use veganism to accommodate my inability to really accept myself and the body dysmorphia that I was experiencing. I want to say that I've never really been diagnosed by a psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm using these terms sort of like in the more popular terms, not in the clinical terms. I don't know if that makes a major difference. But basically, I went from throwing up to finding ways to overly control myself and control my experience. And so I did it with my best, I tried to do it with my best friend. Like, it had come out that Beyonce had done a lemonade diet and I tried that. There literally wasn't anything that I wouldn't jump on. Except maybe Atkins. That was the only thing I couldn't get onto because I've always loved carbs. That was really, really hard. I've always loved carbs, so I just found that it would be really, really hard not to eat carbs, so I never jumped on Atkins. But I just think about the sheer amount, growing up in America, and just the sheer amount of images and bombardment with this idea that like you're not good enough in your body, and everybody is selling some type of fad diet everywhere you look, diet this, diet that. I would come to Ghana, and Ghana was such an interesting place because I would come to Ghana and the aunts would be like, oh, you're kind of big. And mind you, I've been tall my entire life. I've never been short. I was like 5'9" at the age of like 12. So I've always been super tall. So I had this really awkward stage where I was tall and kind of chunky, and it was a weird balance. And I would come back and visit Ghana, and you have aunts and uncles. You know, people would call me things like lactogen baby, and all these things were just really feeding deeper and deeper into my body dysmorphia, my inability to see myself as desirable and beautiful, because it was always being communicated to me that girls who looked like me, who were larger or whatever, were just not desirable. And so I just carried, and the irony is that I look back on pictures and I'm like, I wasn't big. I wasn't big. I wasn't growing at an alarming rate. And I think that out of fear, so many adults talked me down. And so I developed this sense that I wasn't particularly desirable. So fast forward to university, I began to take on healthier habits, I will say. Actually, before university, probably. So here's where it gets really funny, because even though I was picking up healthy habits, I would be healthy up to a point, and then it would get sort of mixed in with all the other unhealthy sort of behaviors. And so the summer after sort of like I stopped throwing up my food, I started running. I will take very short jogs, which was really, really great. And I did. I finally lost some weight, finally. But as time went on, even when I was losing weight and taking on more healthier habits, I could not see myself as desirable. Like it seemed like all the words from previously had begun to just like stick in my mind and in my heart. And I had accepted them on some level. So even though I had the option of healthier living, and I had learned what worked for my body, and I had learned healthier things to eat. And for that, I feel my mother was very helpful. She would buy vegetables, and I'm the only one of my siblings who really indulged in them. So she would buy healthier options of things. She's actually the one who started buying soya milk instead of cow's milk in our house to introduce us to plant-based milk. So way before I was vegan, I was already drinking soya milk. My mother, I will say that of most people around me, I think my mother probably said the least about my weight. She would just sort of introduce healthier options to me. So for that, I'm super grateful. But even with my mom doing that, it was still stuck in my mind that something was wrong with me. And I just was not enough. I was never enough. No matter what I did, I just did not feel that I was enough and, really just like capable. So as time went on, yes, I was taking on more healthier lifestyles. I was exercising, I was running, I was eating healthier. I wasn't as interested in fast food anymore, except for maybe, one or two places. But I get to university and we have access to everything. You have access to a lot of food in university, but you also have access to a lot of other services. On my campus, health and fitness was, great. We had this beautiful student gym. You can go free of charge. You can take all the classes you want free of charge, Zumba, kickboxing, you name it. So I started participating in that and actually found out that I love working out and I love to move. And actually, that's when I started experimenting seriously with yoga. There was a yoga Pilates class, which is a fusion of yoga and Pilates. And so I would go to yoga Pilates. And before you knew it, I kind of fell in love with yoga. I started signing up for yoga classes outside of the gym and got to know yoga more and more. And over the years, I would go to a few yoga classes here and there until I grew in it. So that was the evolution of sort of like me being physically active. Now, even when I was being super physically active, I still had this background language that was still playing in my head that like my body was still not good enough, that I still was not thin enough. And so even though I was working out, even though I was eating much healthier, I had come to understand healthy. I began to sort of like frame my understanding of healthy living in the context of my struggle with self-acceptance and my struggle with body dysmorphia. So at this point, even though I wasn't throwing up anymore, I still felt so inadequate because I could not fit a size 2. I put all my attention on this idea that, man, I really wish I could be a size 4. I want to be a size 4. I want to be a size 4 so badly. So even though I was taking on healthier lifestyles and I was eating decidedly healthier, I just could not sort of reconcile the fact that like my body was beautiful and that I needed to accept it. So finally I found vegan about my third year in university. Now, like I said, I started vegan really as a means of just looking for more health. I was becoming just a healthier person and I was just interested in all this like organic stuff and so I finally went vegan. I felt like, wow, I finally found something that really works for me. I felt amazing. My skin cleared up. Then I started to lose a lot of weight. This is the part that's a little hard for me to talk about because the moment I started to lose weight, I started to make my vegan journey about weight loss. And I liked how everybody was complimenting me on my weight loss. Every other word was about, you've lost weight, you look great. You lost weight, you look great. You've lost weight, you look great. What have you been doing? And so I would answer, oh, I went vegan. So I began to make sort of like the mental connection that, wow, I'm skinny and pretty and vegan, So I made the connection that veganism was sort of like a weight loss tool. And it became really about weight loss at some point. And I forgot really to focus on all the other things. And I enjoyed it and I loved it. And I felt great. I think this is not to bash veganism, or this is not to bash sort of, if you are going vegan for the sake of weight loss, this is not to bash you. I am simply talking about my journey with body dysmorphia and how even with the healthy stuff, I still found a way to sort of incorporate that into my own nervous condition. So I got to a place where, and then finally, this is where it gets really interesting because you can gain weight being vegan too, right? It depends what you eat. So there was a time sort of like I gained weight as a vegan because I was overeating. If you eat a lot of fat and carbs, you're going to gain weight. Doesn't matter if it's vegan, just what it is, right? But the body dysmorphia never left me. So even when I lost the weight, I still had the body dysmorphia. Even when I gained the weight, I still had the body dysmorphia. And it stayed with me for many years. If I'm being honest, it wasn't really until late last year I had fibroid surgery, and the combination of not being able to exercise and sitting around and eating a lot of food pre-surgery, I gained a lot of weight, and also medications and hormones. So I gained a bunch of weight, and I remember looking at myself and really not knowing how to move in my body. Then I began focusing on body affirmations and body acceptance. And I said to myself, whether or not this is the body I want, this is the body I have, and therefore must be the body I love. So I repeat that. Whether the body I have is the body I want, it is the body I must love. So it doesn't matter if you find yourself on the higher side of your weight spectrum or the lower side. Whatever body you have is the body you must love, because you cannot positively affect something you have negative feelings towards. So if I want a healthy body, I have to have positive feelings towards my body. And so during that period, I began to sort of think through, and I had a breakdown. We went to skydiving. I went to Mauritius last year. We all went skydiving, and I could not believe my weight. And they said I was right above the weight cutoff to go skydiving. And that has never happened in my life, where I in my adult life, all these years that I've been obsessed with weight loss and exercise and boom, boom, boom. I sat down and I had to come face to face with that. And I said, okay, you know what, no matter where I am on my sort of weight spectrum, I'm just gonna love what I have. I'm gonna love myself, but I'm also gonna take this opportunity to laugh at myself a little bit, laugh with myself, laugh with others who are around me. And I remember just like having family around me who just were not bothered with my weight. Like, the people who truly love you don't care what you weigh, you know? And I remember just sitting there and just like being so obsessive about my weight, and people sitting around looking at me and just being like, girl, literally nobody, like, the love that we have for you is not connected to like how much you weigh. And it began to make me realize just how much I had made my entire life about weight. Like, my entire life, maybe from the age of like, as far as I can remember, has been about weight. Maybe since the age of 12, my entire life has been about weight. And it made me realize how much I had based my entire happiness, my entire experience in my body, the clothes I have purchased, the colors I've worn, how much I've really lived my life and governed my life by the number on the scale. And I've done it all. I've been super thin and completely miserable. And so I have chosen rather now to prioritize joy. And you know what? Sometimes joy is doing 10 minutes of yoga just because, rather than 2 hours of high intensity interval training just because I really, really want to be thin. I just made a decision that my life would no longer be governed by my weight, where I find myself on the spectrum. Like, whether I'm weighing more than I want to or weighing less than I want to would no longer be my, that would no longer govern the decisions I make about how I experience life. Do I love to move? Yes, I love to work out, but now I'll make working out about loving to work out and enjoying the process of working out, loving to feel strong, loving to feel alive, getting that blood pumping. That is what I get out of a good workout. What I get out of a good workout is like a lot of laughter and smiles, and I feel good. And also I sleep really well. I generally just get a better state of health from a good workout. And I want my workouts to be about that. Like I said, this is my personal journey. And so if you are on a weight loss journey, this is not to bash your process. But even if you are on a weight loss journey, I hope that you use this journey as a means of self-connection, as a means of really having fun. Strive for progress and not the perfection or the picture you have in your mind. Because First of all, that probably never exists. And you're probably never, and perfection is not real. You know what I mean? We can only go for our best version of ourselves. Right now, my mantra is this: whatever body I get from eating healthy and moving, right? From a healthy lifestyle, whatever body I get, that is the body that I'm going for. You know, I have made my entire life about weight. I have made my entire life about a six-pack or back rolls or, you know, flabby arms. Like, you know, come on, somebody. My entire life has been governed by that. The clothes that I've worn, the colors that I've worn, I can go down the line, the kind of experiences I've allowed myself to have. Do you know there are things I haven't done because I didn't feel like I had the right body to do it? There are places I haven't been, there are places I haven't seen because I just felt like I couldn't take my body as it was, you know? I mean, this degree of just self-loathing and self-flagellation for an idea that does not exist. I've just decided to no longer live my life governed by my body and my size. I am going to live my life governed by my soul and the experiences that my soul wishes to have. And whatever body I have as a result of healthy living, that is the body I want. That is the body I desire. I've put so much pressure on my body without even giving a moment to be grateful to my body and thanking my body for taking me through, for being resilient, for undergoing surgery and still having the resilience to like get up every day and be useful and work out and eat and love and be in love and experience and give. And we wake up every day, we don't even thank our body for carrying us through everything. We spend at least I have spent so much of my time working on controlling my body, not necessarily loving my body. I have spent so much time eating things just to feel like I was in control of my body, not eating things to really nourish my body. And so it brings me to the conversation about clean eating versus an eating disorder. This is a tough one because I do think that our obsession with clean eating speaks to diet culture on some level. And that coming from me, a person who literally used clean eating to sort of support an eating disorder, I would say, why are you obsessing about, like, whatever reason it is, I hope that reason is because you love yourself and not because you feel like you need to fulfill some standard that is outside of you. So I hope you really enjoyed this talk. I just wanted to get up here and get super vulnerable about my journey with eating disorders and body dysmorphia. I have made a decision to no longer allow sort of my quote unquote body or my distaste or my disappointment in my body to dictate my experience. And I will be checking in with you every now and then so that you can also get an insight into my own progress about how I'm growing and how I'm accepting myself and how I'm living free, truly living free, and how I am practicing radical authenticity throughout this journey. And part of it is accepting my body at every stage. So if you really like this talk, I have also recorded a body affirming meditation that you can download as well. You can send me an email at hey@nanakonamah.com if you are interested in the body affirming meditation. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time. Ooh, my back, my neck.